Hello there, my lovelies. How's it going? My name's Boomy and you're watching my channel, Boomy Reactions. Now today, guys, I have another video from WildWired, and this one seemed too good to not watch. So this is the extinct predator that almost wiped out humanity. Okay, so an extinct predator that nearly wiped out humanity. What is that going to be? What could that have been? A predator? Quite a long time. I don't know. I have no idea what this predator actually is. Presumably something that doesn't exist today. I don't know. What could that have been? Anyway, I'm curious. So I need to watch it along with you guys. So let's check this video out. And if you are enjoying these reactions, don't forget to like and subscribe, my lovelies. Thank you so much. If you're interested, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account. That link is over here. And if you would like to help support my channel any further, I have a Patreon account. And if you want to check that out at all, that link is in the description below. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Excuse me, guys. Okay. What is the predator? What is the predator? I haven't actually got a clue.
2 million years ago, the night did not belong to us. When the sun went down over the African savanna, our ancestors did not sit around campfires telling stories.
A giant predatory bird. No idea. You can tell I've been watching the Croods. I don't know what this could have been. Nighttime. Okay, so maybe something that stalks and hunts at night. I don't know. Presumably, I know we've talked a little bit about phobias and irrational phobias. I very much have one of my own, but I think this is where our kind of innate fear of the dark comes from predators. And you know, if we got up in the middle of the night and wandered around in the dark early on in our evolution, bad things would have happened. We're not safe. You could fall down a cliff. You could encounter some kind of venomous, poisonous animal along the way. You could be hunted. An awful lot of bad things can happen to you in the night. So I don't think actually like a fear of the dark is that crazy. I think there is something in our like inherited memories or genetics or something that tells us actually don't just sleep when it's dark, because bad things will happen. And I think that's where it comes from. But I can't think of what the predator could have been.
They did not feel safe. They scrambled up trees or huddled deep inside cold caves, trembling in the dark. They knew something was out there. Something that could see in the pitch black,
like
something that moved without sound, something that had developed a specific taste for human flesh. For decades, paleontologists looked at the bones of our ancestors and assumed that we were the hunters. We were the killer apes who conquered the world. They were wrong. The fossil record reveals a much darker truth. We were not the kings of the jungle. We were the prey.
We don't like thinking that we're not the apex predator, do we? I think yeah. It must have happened at some point. We haven't always been the big king of the jungle, like the narrator here says. There must have been other predators around. Must have been. So what they're saying, a very large cat. So this isn't like a saber-toothed cat. This isn't long ago enough. So what's this big predatory cat? It looks like a big mountain lion.
And our primary predator was a monster designed by evolution to hunt primates. It was a cat, but it was not a lion and it was not a tiger. It was a Dinofelis.
Dinofelis? I've not heard of this. Dinofelis. So not like I said, I don't think Sabertooth lived too long ago. That's like Ice Age beyond, isn't it? So this is Dinofelis. Ooh, it does. It just looks like a cougar, but I imagine like a cougar on steroids. Look how jacked it is.
This creature is the reason you are afraid of the dark. The psychological terror you feel when you're alone in the woods at night is not irrational.
So it's purely because I don't think it's purely because of this predator, but I imagine it factors into it quite a lot. But yeah.
It is a biological scare left by this specific predator. The Dinofelis was the main enemy of prehistoric humans. It hunted us for hundreds of thousands of years. To understand how close we came to extinction, you have to look at the machine that was hunting us.
This is I did not know this. This is education for me. This is news to me. This cat nearly wiped out humanity, and what we were just this cat's exclusive diet.
The Dinofelis was often called a false saber-tooth. When you think of a saber-toothed cat, you think of a Smilodon, the giant beast with 8-inch fangs that hunted mammoths in the Ice Age.
Yes.
Dinofelis was different. It lived earlier, and it was built for a different kind of
More
murder.
jaguar.
It was the size of a modern jaguar, roughly around 2.5 feet tall at the shoulder.
Now, jaguars are... I did not realize until quite recently how big a jaguar actually is. Like, they are the beefy cat, muscular, like muscle-wise. They've got like denser muscles, and they're more muscular than like a lion or a tiger. And I think their the bite force is the strongest out of all of the cats. I think like terrifying. Ugh, like it can crush skulls in its head.
Weighing up to 260
I don't think I made that up.
But was far more robust. Its skeleton shows thick, powerful bones, heavy, muscled forearms, and a neck built like a battering ram. It was not built for running fast on the open plains.
It's a killer.
It was built for wrestling.
Oh my god.
The anatomy of Dinofelis solves a mystery that puzzled scientists for years. Why did this cat need such powerful arms? Well, the answer lies in where our ancestors lived. Early hominids like Australopithecus africanus were slow. We had no claws, we had no fangs, we were 3 or 4 feet tall. Our only defense was climbing.
I love how he says, you know, back then we were like 3 or 4 feet tall. I'm not that much taller. Oh, okay. So it didn't hunt Homo sapiens. No, like earlier Homo sapiens? Or I'm confused.
We thought we were safe in the trees and on the rocky ledges of caves.
We're not Homo sapiens.
Dinofelis evolved to negate that advantage. Its massive forearms were designed for climbing. It could drag its heavy body up the cliffs and into the trees. So there was nowhere left to hide. But the teeth tell the real story of how we died. The fangs of a Dinofelis were not the fragile, knife-like sabers of the Smilodon. They were shorter, stouter, and slightly flattened.
Did he just describe a saber-tooth's teeth as fragile? Are they really? I thought they just like look like daggers.
They were a cross between the slicing blades of a saber-toothed cat and the crushing cones of a modern lion. This design had a terrifying purpose. A pure saber-toothed cat bites the throat to sever arteries. A modern lion clamps down to suffocate. The Dinofelis bite was designed to crush the back of the skull. It could bite through bone.
I'm pretty sure it's something similar for a jaguar as well. They've got, like I say, quite the bite force.
We know this because we found the evidence. In the chaotic limestone caves of the cradle of humankind in South Africa, specifically at the site called Zwartkans, paleontologists found a massacre. For years, researchers like Casey Brain analyzed the bones found in these caves. Originally, scientists thought these caves were inhabited by early humans who brought animal bones there to eat, right? They thought we were the masters of the cave. Casey Brain looked closer and realized the opposite was true. The caves were not our homes. They were dining rooms, and we were the meal. Brain found skulls of early hominids with specific puncture marks. 2 holes, perfectly spaced. He measured the distance between the canine teeth of every predator from that era. Leopards didn't fit perfectly. Hyenas also didn't fit. The spacing matched the lower canines of Dinofelis. The cat
They are perfectly punctured holes in the skull. Wouldn't the skull break? You wouldn't get two perfect tooth-sized holes through the skull, would you?
would pin the human down, clamp its jaws over the head, and puncture the skull.
Oh.
The method of predation was specialized. Dinofelis was an ambush predator. It relied on the one thing humans have never been able to conquer: darkness. The vision of a primate is excellent during the day, but at night, we're functionally blind.
Yeah.
We lack a
Very
layer of
vulnerable.
tissue behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum. The tissue reflects light back through the eye, giving cats their glowing eyes and superior night vision. In low light, a Dinofelis could see every movement we made, but we could see nothing.
I can't see them.
The environment of the Pleistocene epoch favored the cat. It was a mix of open grasslands and dense patches of forests. Our ancestors, the Australopithecines, spent their days foraging for fruit and roots in the open. But as the sun began to set, the dynamic shifted. The Dinofelis did not chase us down in a sprint. It waited. It used the tall grass and the shadows of the cave entrances.
They were the monster under the bed.
It was a game of patience.
Ooh.
The fossils tell us that Dinofelis specialized in medium-sized prey.
Oh my.
Carbon isotope analysis of Dinofelis teeth confirms that a significant portion of their diet consisted of primates. Unlike lions, which prefer large herbivores like wildebeest, Dinofelis occupied a specific ecological niche. It was the primate specialist.
Oh my God.
This specialization terrified early humans so deeply that it likely shaped our social evolution. You have to understand the scale of this threat. In some fossil deposits, primate remains make up a huge percentage of the bones found. This wasn't occasional predation. This was a systemic harvesting. Every night, the tribe would have to count the members, and every morning, someone would be missing. Our ancestors sought refuge in caves to escape the wind and the cold, but the caves were traps.
Yeah.
The Dinofelis was comfortable in enclosed spaces.
I was gonna say it's doing nothing against Dinofelis though, is it?
Would enter the cave while the group slept. In the pitch black, the attack would be silent.
Dinofelis
A crushing
is the
bite to the
boogeyman.
skull kills instantly. There would be no scream. The cat would then drag the body out or deeper into the cavern to eat undisturbed. The rest of the group would wake up to find a bloody, empty space where their family member had been. This consistent pressure forced us to adapt. The survival of the human species is directly linked to the threat of this cat. We could not outrun it, we could not outfight it, so we had to outthink it.
Outsmart
The
it.
existence of a super predator like Dinofelis forced early humans to develop tighter social bonds. You couldn't sleep alone, you needed a sentry. You needed a tribe, and the pressure to communicate danger led to the development of complex signals, the precursors to language. Furthermore, this predation may have pushed us toward the most important discovery in history: fire. Fire was the only thing Dinofelis feared. The light would break its camouflage. The heat kept it at bay. Control
Oh, it reminds me of the Jungle Book with Shere Khan. The only thing he feared was fire.
of fire wasn't just about cooking food, it was about building a wall between us and the monster. The campfire became the center of human life because it was the only safe zone in the world that was dominated by this cat. The rivalry between human and Dinofelis lasted for over 1 million years. It was an evolutionary arms race. As we got smarter, the cat's advantage began to fade. We started using tools. A sharp rock or a pointed stick gave us a reach advantage. We started moving in larger, more coordinated groups. A single Australopithecus is a snack, but 10 Homo habilis are a threat.
Yeah.
But the Dinofelis didn't give up easily. It remained a threat well into the rise of the genus Homo.
Can I imagine as well, because this is such a predatory animal, they don't eat, although the narrator here said, what, every morning these tribes would wake up and someone would be missing. I thought predators like this, where the diet exclusively just consisted of meat, carnivorous, that they'd not eat as frequently. So they would gorge themselves on a meal after a hunt and then sleep and kind of lounge around until they had to then hunt, expend a lot of energy. And then same cycle over and over again. So does this not fit the same pattern? So presumably picking off one of our little early ancestors wouldn't have been that much of a challenge, easy meal, but all of a sudden having to encounter a group becomes a challenge, and it's spending an awful lot of energy for the sake of one meal. So it becomes more, I know what I mean.
Fossils show that it coexisted with Homo habilis and possibly early Homo erectus.
Oh.
It was there when we started to stand fully upright, and it was there when we started to lose our fur. It was the shadow that followed us through our entire early history.
How did it disappear?
The eventual extinction of Dinofelis is a subject of intense study. It wasn't just that we got better at fighting back. The climate changed. The ice age cycles became more intense. The dense forests and mixed woodlands that Dinofelis relied on for ambush cover began to recede, replaced by open savannas. On the open plain, the Dinofelis was at a disadvantage. It wasn't fast enough to catch antelope in a race, and it couldn't hide as effectively. Simultaneously, the competition changed. Lions and hyenas, which are adapted to open spaces, began to dominate the landscape. They outcompeted the Dinofelis for food. And then, well, there was us. By 1.5 million years ago, humans were becoming dangerous. We were no longer passive victims. We were becoming predators ourselves. We began to hunt the herbivores that the cats ate. We stole their kills, and we disrupted their breeding. The man the hunted hypothesis, proposed by anthropologists Donna Hart and Robert Sussman, argues that our intelligence is not a result of hunting, but of trying not to be eaten. The Dinofelis was the primary architect of that pressure. It culled the slow, the unaware, and the solitary. It naturally selected for humans who were paranoid, alert, and social. If you weren't afraid of the dark, the Dinofelis would eat you.
He's gonna eat.
If you didn't stick with the group, the Dinofelis ate
you off.
The humans who survived were the ones who checked every shadow. We are kind of like the descendants of the paranoid. There is a chilling artifact that serves as the ultimate proof of this conflict. It is the skull of a juvenile hominid catalogued as SK54. The skull cap shows two distinct puncture marks. The spacing is precise. The shape of the holes matches the oval cross-section of Dinofelis' canines.
So would that kind of go hand in hand with what I was saying earlier about them, not wanting to spend more energy than they need to for a meal? So pick off the sick, the young, the weaker, the more vulnerable of our social groups, because it's an easier meal for them, isn't it?
The child was grabbed by the head, but the cat didn't finish the meal. Perhaps it was interrupted by the rest of the tribe throwing rocks. Perhaps a leopard stole the kill. But that skull stands as a monument to millions of years of terror. The Dinofelis had physical traits that made it unique among felines. Its tail was relatively short, similar to a bobcat or lynx, which indicates it wasn't using it as a rudder for high-speed cornering like a cheetah. This confirms it was a grappler. Its paws were massive, with fully reticulated claws that could hook into flesh and hold on with immense strength.
Sounds like a tiger.
Once a Dinofelis had you, you couldn't break free. The physics were impossible. Consider the bite force. While saber-toothed cats like Smilodon actually had relatively weak bite forces, relying on the neck muscles to drive the teeth like knives, Dinofelis had strong jaw muscles. It could crunch through the tough vertebrae of a primate neck. It could crush the windpipe. It was an efficient killing machine that wasted no energy. The fascinating part of the Dinofelis story is just how widespread it was. We find its fossils in Africa, but also in Europe, Asia, and North America.
So basically, you find that little relationship, don't you, between prey and predator. So where we are, this predator follows. Okay, which does it lead you to believe, yeah, we've been prey for this fella for quite some time.
It just followed the primates. Wherever our ancestors and relatives went, the terror cat followed. Yep. It was a global plague on early humanity.
Its exclusive
However,
diet.
The African species Dinofelis barlowii and Dinofelis abelli are the ones most closely linked to our evolution. They lived in the same valleys where humanity was born. They drank from the same rivers. They shared the same caves. The intimacy of this relationship is terrifying. We were neighbors. The extinction of Dinofelis roughly 1.2 million years ago marked a turning point for humanity. With the specialized primate eater gone, the night became slightly less deadly. We could expand our range, we could move into new territories without the constant threat of the ambush specialist. It allowed our population to explode. But the memory of the Dinofelis never left us. Evolutionary psychologists believe that the universal human fear of monsters, the archetypal image of a beast with big teeth and glowing eyes, is an ancestral memory of Dinofelis. When a child asks for a nightlight, they're instinctively guarding against the Dinofelis. When you hear a twig snap in the forest and your heart rate spikes, that's your body preparing to run from Dinofelis. We often glorify the other megafauna of the past, the mammoth, the T-Rex, the Smilodon, but Dinofelis is the most important animal in human history. It shaped our brains, it forced us to speak, it forced us to discover fire, it forced us to band together. Without this cat, we might have remained simple apes swinging in the trees, unconcerned with the world around us. The pressure of being hunted created the modern human. Today, the Dinofelis is gone. Its bones gather dust in museums in Pretoria and Johannesburg. The caves where it once dragged our screaming ancestors are now tourist attractions.
Grim.
But you should remember its name. It was the crucible in which humanity was forged. We are the survivors of a 1,000,000-year war against a perfect predator. We won, but it was a very close call. The next time you turn off the lights and you feel that sudden irrational spike of fear, respect it. That is the ghost of the Dinofelis reminding you that for a very, very long time, we were just food.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'll catch you next time. 2 million.
Oh, it's so interesting. Yeah, so next time I watch a horror film and I scare myself silly and I wake up in the middle of the night, I've got to go to the bathroom. I'm absolutely scared out my wits. I'm going to remember, this is Dinofelis. This is Dinofelis. This is not a monster. This is not a ghost. It's Dinofelis. And that's okay. That's actually amazing to, I don't know, change our way of thinking about how we evolved, how we developed our intellect, our skills with tools and language. That's pretty amazing. I want, like, how old is the discovery of Dinofelis? Because I didn't think that we had such an apex predator that we evolved alongside, so closely, not related to, but in relation to. So, YouTube, I'm learning all these things. It's very, very interesting. Maybe that explains our affection for cats, domesticated cats. Maybe there was some really spiteful part in the back of our heads that thought, we're going to domesticate you now, Dinofelis. Now you're this big and we decide if you play with that mouse or have any catnip. We buy your cat scratch tower. Maybe. Guys, I hope you found that as interesting as I did. Take care of yourselves, my lovelies, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.